There, Happy New Year and welcome to 2014, 7 days later. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith and I am back. Now when I say I am back, I mean that this is a new year, new resolutions, and everybody's on that new year tip. So first of all, you got people who are saying, I want to lose weight, I want to go to the gym, I want to be that person. Good for you and I hope you do it. You've got people who are saying, I want to go out there, I want to quit smoking. Good for you, I hope you do it. You've got this guy standing before you who's saying, I go to a lot of movies and I want to be a lot better about blogging them. Because there was a time when I would see a movie, I would come, I would blog about it would be awesome, but last year I kind of sucked. I blame it on nothing more than sheer laziness, but you know what? I've seen one movie in the theater, I'm doing a blog right now, and I'm feeling really good about it. So let's keep this momentum going throughout the year. So by the time it's done, your Facebook and your Twitter feeds will be posted with different reviews from me. So I hope you like them. I always welcome your feedback, and we'll talk about that a little later. Now, the movie that we're going to be talking about today is Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. Now, this is the fifth movie that has had Paranormal Activity attached to it, but it's not Paranormal Activity 5. It's Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. We'll talk about that more in just a second. I'm a huge fan of Paranormal Activity movies, if you didn't know. First one I saw several years ago when it first came out in Vancouver. Kind of stumbled upon it. Didn't know a lot about the Paranormal Activity franchise, and it was interesting because, or I should say I didn't know a lot about that movie at the time, but it was interesting because here's a movie that took off by word of mouth. It had a budget of about let's say $13,000. It made well over $100 million at the box office, and it wasn't because it had this huge marketing campaign, it was word of mouth. The whole demand your city to have it campaign took off like crazy, and it was a great movie. It introduced us to Mika and Katie, this nice couple, and we learned out that Katie had this demon basically following her from the time that she was a little child. All these things that go bump in the night came back, and it scared the bejesus out of us, and it was a fantastic movie. Then we saw Paranormal Activity 2, and we were introduced to her sister Christy. Paranormal Activity 3, which is my personal favorite, which took us back to when the girls were children, and then of course Paranormal Activity 4, which we had about a year and a half ago. Let's call it 2 years ago. Last year we didn't have a Paranormal Activity. Well, 2014 is going to make up for that, because not only did we just have Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones, which was just released, this October we will have the official Paranormal Activity 5. Now I'm a big fan of these movies because I guess when I sit back and when I think about the Paranormal Activity series, each movie brings something different. Each movie kind of ties in with the other, and to be perfectly honest with you, when I go back to part 3, it scared the bejesus out of me. It was so intense. I remember it. If you remember my blog, a group of us went to see it. Nobody wanted to go home after. It was all, okay, let's go and talk about nice things like Care Bears and nice fields of roses, and let's all be happy with each other and let's sing awesome songs, and then we can go part our ways, because if we go home now, we're going to be opening every door and closet worrying about what might be jumping out. Now, before I continue with Paranormal Activity, let's talk about the last big series, because it's very easy for people to say, oh great, another Paranormal Activity movie, who cares? The last big series that we saw was Saw, and I thought the first Saw was a great movie. When it first came out, of course, I can still hear those words, I want to play a game. And you'd hear those words and be like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And then when you heard it in the second and the third movie, you knew that trouble was around the corner and somebody was about to be put into a trap or a situation that they most likely weren't going to get out of. But then by the time you got to the fifth movie and the sixth movie, you were like, you were no longer excited about, I want to play a game. It would be like you'd see this little guy and be like, yeah, I know, you want to play a game. And it got somewhat watered down. To me, the best Saw was the first. There were elements of greatness in some of the others, but nothing touched the first movie. With Paranormal Activity, in my opinion, the first one was fantastic, but like I said, the third one completely blew me away. And now I know some of you will look at me saying this or hear me saying this and say, I didn't really like the third one. Now you know what, that's cool too, but I absolutely love the third one. So let's talk about this one. In this one we meet Jesse, a recent high school graduate who's got the whole world in front of him, and he's ready to take on anything that comes his way. But wouldn't you know it, Jesse's got this neighbor who everybody calls a bruja, Spanish for witch. And Jesse's neighbor is kind of freaking out everybody. Next thing you know, she ends up dead, and then it's a big question of who killed her and what's going on. Of course, Jesse, being a little nosy, he goes down to her place with a couple of friends, and while snooping around, find some interesting things that kind of make him wonder, well, what's going on here? Pictures of himself, pictures of his mother, like what is it all about? And that's about all I'm really going to say about in terms of what happens in this particular apartment. What I'll say about this movie is it's a great companion piece to the Paranormal Activity series. I don't want to give things away because I'm not a spoiler, but I think that your time would be spoiled by not seeing this movie. I'm giving this a B+. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, am I biased towards the Paranormal Activity movies? Absolutely, but I'll be the first person to tell you I wasn't a huge fan of Paranormal Activity Part 4. I think there were a lot of fantastic elements about this movie that I really enjoyed. The ending, for me, was so fantastic, I pretty much jumped out of my seat and was like, oh my god, that's awesome, and I was ready to high-five somebody because I loved it. Now, did it scare me as much as Part 3 did? No, but quite frankly, very few movies have. Did I think it was better than Part 4? Yes. So, consider that. Now, in regards to feedback, I was reminded by a very friendly gentleman over the Christmas holidays, you know, Keith, you're just giving out your opinion, and absolutely I am. You have the right to agree with me, you have the right to disagree with me. You have the right to create your own blog, and we can totally blog back and forth. That's totally cool. You can follow me at CFL_fan on Twitter, or my Facebook page at WittyWhittier.com. Facebook.com/WittyWhittier. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts in terms of horror movies and what movies you like and what movies you found that have scared you over the years. It'd be an interesting chat to have. Anyways, until then, avoid the things that go bump in the night. Do get out to see Paranormal Activity, the marked ones. Very good movie, very well worth your time. Thank you for your time today, and I'll see you at the movies.